back to Crash.net's Formula One weekly debate series. I'm joined by Lewis Larkam, and today we're going to talk about Formula One's young guns after a very exciting Austrian Grand Prix. So now we've got Charles Leclerc, who's been promoted to Ferrari, Max Verstappen still being the emerging star at Red Bull, and the likes of Lando Norris at McLaren and George Russell at Williams. So there is a real youth push coming through at Formula One. Is this overdue?
I think it is, yeah. I think we're seeing a real changing of the guard in a sense. Obviously with Fernando Alonso leaving at the end of 2018, Kimi Räikkönen and Lewis Hamilton both coming towards the ends of their careers. We've got some really exciting young talent on the grid.
Yeah, and in Austria we saw the youngest ever front row with Leclerc and Verstappen alongside each other, both 21. And then the stats were, it was the second ever youngest podium trio. I mean, the poor Valtteri Bottas, the ripe old age of 29, he's the old guard now. Yeah. Is this sort of Leclerc-Verstappen thing going to be a sign of the future?
I think so. I think we've been given a real sense of what's to come in the future now. I think these two are going to be the heavyweight contenders, fighting out for wins and championships in the future. And we saw a great battle between them in Austria, and that was the sort of first glimpse of what we can look forward to going forwards.
Yeah, and we can't forget the Brit pack as they've sort of come to know, and the rookies of Alex Albon at Toro Rosso, Norris at McLaren and Russell at Williams. How have you sort of assessed their progress going through, and is it just another wave of the young guns coming through?
Yeah, I think it's been very, very promising for F1 to have three guys coming up, all the top three finishers in F2 coming into F1 and all doing very well. I've actually been a bit surprised by Lando Norris, to be fair. He had a lot of hype and expectation coming into his debut F1 season, and he had struggled in F2. He was expected to be a leading contender, and in the end Russell beat him quite comfortably in the championship. He also struggled with race management and tyres, looking after his tyre management throughout the races. And then he's come into F1 and he's not been phased whatsoever by the challenge, and he's taken to it really well and performing exceptionally well for McLaren.
And there's one name that we have sort of forgotten this year, but is very clearly still in front of minds at Mercedes, which is Esteban Ocon. Now, he lost his drive this year due to the shuffles going on at Racing Point, and there was just not enough space for him. What does the future hold for Ocon?
Yeah, Ocon's an interesting one. Mercedes obviously aren't going to want to lose him. They're going to be desperate to keep hold of him and not lose him to a rival team. Question is where does he go? He needs to be back on the grid next season. At the moment, the obvious place to get that seat looks to be Williams, which isn't the most attractive of seats, obviously, for Ocon, given their competitiveness or lack of competitiveness this season. Aside from that, with Stroll in at Racing Point, it's hard to see where he could go. Romain Grosjean is under a lot of pressure. He's had another difficult start to the season, as he did last year. I suppose there could be question marks there as to whether Haas decide to stick with him or twist. Perhaps if he were to leave Haas, then there could be a chance for somebody like Sergio Perez to maybe move across. He's been at Racing Point, formerly Force India, for a long time now. Does he feel he's ready for another challenge and get close to the front of the grid? Because obviously he's been stuck in that mid-pack for quite a while. So potentially, if there's a move there, that could open up a seat at Racing Point, which is obviously where Ocon was before he lost his drive. So that would make sense. But it's a tough one for Mercedes. They've got to try and place him into a position, and there's a lack of seats.
And equally, from Ocon's point of view, if they are unable to give him a seat for next year, he probably has to look elsewhere. A Renault, which was rumoured last year, or basically stepping out of the Mercedes fold, which granted has a big risk involved, but the boy needs to get onto the grid again, needs to go racing. It's not going to help him sitting in the Mercedes garage watching on.
That's his big dilemma, isn't it? It may come to the point that he has to move out of that Mercedes stable because he needs to get on the grid and not lose, because there are plenty of young drivers coming through. If he misses the cut, then he's quickly going to be forgotten about, and he can't afford that, and he's clearly got the talent.
That's right, and as many have built up, particularly last year, it was the emergence of Leclerc and obviously Verstappen winning races. Ocon was seen as this third one of the top three, with then the next generation behind them of your Norrises, your Russells. So let's hope he does get back on the grid for 2020, and we can have an up to awesome races.